you doing, guys? Thanks for stopping by. Today we're taking a look at something that can happen to pretty much anyone within the Lipo community who uses Lipos like this, and that is a broken balance plug. As you'll be able to see here, it's completely shattered. This got sucked into one of the props when I crashed, and it just shattered it like that. So today we're going to be taking a quick look at what to do when this happens and how to repair it as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so taking a closer look, you'll see that the balance plug has been pretty much completely ripped off, apart from this little bit here. So what you want to do as soon as this happens, you want to go ahead and isolate all of these cables so that none of the tips of these actually touch each other, because that'll cause the battery to short and it'll cause a lot of sparks, could possibly set the battery on fire or explode it, or do a lot of damage to your battery. So you want to go ahead, isolate all of these cables, wrap them up individually with electrical tape, or make sure that they just can't touch like I've done here. So once you've done that, I'm assuming you're going to have had a bit of a crash, so you want to go ahead and assess the Lipo itself, see if it's starting to puff up a little bit. But if it's solid and rigid and no give in there, then you know that's fine. But if it's starting to puff up a little bit like that, then you probably shouldn't use this Lipo again. If you've only sort of lost one of these little leads from this, or maybe it's just sort of snapped the connector, but it's not completely ripped it out like this have, you might be able to put a voltage tester in there and just see if the voltage across this is still giving you a good reading. If it's not, I would suggest probably recycling this, and if it's puffy, the same thing. However, if it's all looking fine and it's still rigid, and you have got a good voltage on it, or you can't test the voltage, then we're going to go ahead and repair this balance connector. So that's a really important thing, guys, after you've had a big crash, especially if something like this has happened, and maybe those have shorted and you've not realised. Give the battery at least a quick once over to see if it's okay. If it is, go ahead and replace this balance plug. If it isn't, I'd go ahead and recycle and get yourself a new battery. So let's take a look at replacing the balance plug on here. So when you're replacing your balance plug, you want to make sure you know which type of connector you're going to need. The standard is the JST-XH, which is this one here. It's got two little ridges, and then the amount of pins as well for which S rating your battery is. There's a couple of the other ones, such as Thunder Power or Hyperion. They're basically slightly different variations in the plastic moulding, and also slightly different pin spacings as well. So go online, have a quick research, and make sure you know which one you're getting when you replace it. Once you've found some replacements, you can go ahead and purchase them online. I got a pack of 10 here So once you've gone ahead and find which one you want, you can go ahead and purchase these either on Banggood, Gearbest. I actually got these off eBay. They were about £2 for a pack of 10, and they came next day delivery, which is always useful. So you get a pack of 10 pairs with the JST-XH plug on there for the battery, and then the connector that you would connect to whatever else you want to attach it on. We're only interested in this one. We don't want the one with the extra pins on it. We want the one with nothing in it that we can simply slit our plugs into. So we've got 10 of these for about £2, like I said. Good deal. I'd suggest getting maybe a bag of these with every couple of Lipos that you purchase, just to make sure you've got some spares. So we've also got two lots of these tiny little connectors, which are on a little metal strip here. You can just go ahead and clip these right off. These go onto the end of the exposed wires of the Lipo. You'll be able to see the little metal bit in there. Fortunately, none of mine have come off, but if your quad seriously rips off the wires on this, then you need to restrip the wires and reattach some of these onto it. So that's a simple thing. You just strip the wire about 1 millimeter or so, slide it into there, and then clamp the edges around that like that. So it's quite an easy process. Fortunately for mine, none of the little metal connectors came off, so mine's just going to be a simple plug and play into the rest of the connector. But hopefully these should usually come with each pack of these that you buy, so if yours has been ripped out quite badly, then you'll have a few spare connectors as well that you can attach on. So as for attaching the connector itself, you want to make sure your wires are wired up in the correct order, and that's quite easy to do because you can just follow the order that they come out of the Lipo, and then simply plug them in there. You can see from this that we have the sort of ridged little bottom bit here, which is these two little hooks on the end. That's facing that way, so we'll go ahead and plug our balance connector in this way, with black on the very left hand side, red on the very right hand side, and then those two little prongs facing downwards from that direction. Be sure to also make sure you get the right S rating. This is obviously a 3S, so we've got the ground and then 3 wires, so that will have 4 pins. Make sure you get the right one and right number of pin slots for your battery. So when we're doing this, again, we want to be really careful with these up here. If you're simply swapping over a connector because it's not been completely ripped out like this, only do one lead at a time to make sure they don't short. So take one lead out of this one and then pop it into the new one that you're going to be replacing. When we're working like this, it's a good idea to probably wrap up each one individually with a bit of sellotape like this, or masking tape, electrical tape, or maybe just put a blob of blue tack on the end just to make sure that you don't get any shorts there. And again, just be doing it one wire at a time. So I'll cut out one of these wires, place it in, and then cut out the next one, and then place that in. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So it's quite logical to see from the balance plug shape and the shape of the wire how these plug in. It sort of looks like a little key, so just remember that keys usually go into a lock facing downwards. So we're going to go ahead and place that into the balance plug like that, with it facing downwards. So you should be able to push it pretty much most of the way in with just your fingers. If it doesn't go all the way in and you can pull it and it comes back out like this, then go ahead, push it back in, and maybe get a little pair of tweezers or pliers or something really thin to just push down this end and push it straight into there so it stays there for nice and rigid. So now I've pushed that in and it's definitely rigid, it's not coming out. If you give it a little tug and it doesn't come out, then you know you've done it right. These little wires, like the connectors I showed earlier, have this tiny little latch on the top. You'll be able to see that just basically stop you being able to pull it out unless you put something in there and push it and then pull it out. So there we have it, we managed to completely salvage our broken balance plug without shorting the battery or electrocuting ourselves in the process, so I'd say that was a pretty successful job, and that looks nice and new and clean on there. So go ahead, plug in a voltage monitor once you've managed to do that before you charge it, just see if everything's looking like it should do, because you don't know what sort of damage this battery's taken if you've done a big crash like that. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I might do one for the XT60 plug as well, although this seems to be a lot less common than the little flimsy balance plug that gets broken. But you know, it still might happen to a few people. Thanks for watching. Don't forget you can support me on Patreon for $1 a month if you want. I'm doing some giveaways over there at the moment. And I'll see you next time guys. Peace out.